They lied to the court about that. What's even more shameful about this is the child advocate was advocating also. The child advocate is a lawyer appointed by the judge in the case to advocate for the best interest of the child. This child advocate did not even truly vet the family members on both sides, father's side or mother's side. And the child advocate advocated for the child to remain in foster care. We later learned that the father who was incarcerated, the biological father who was incarcerated, was never ever subpoenaed to come to court and testify about anything in this case. Greetings, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the People's Global News Network. Greetings. Welcome to another episode of the People's Global News Network, a network where we bring you the raw, unadulterated truth, the facts of what's happening in courts around America, criminal courts, family courts, civil courts. In this particular case, we're going to bring to you a case of a young African-American mother who had her child stripped away from her. Her rights were terminated, and she did everything she was supposed to do to get that child out of the system. Good morning, young lady. How are you?
I'm okay.
So tell me, take us from the beginning. This was your first ever CPS complaint, CPS case. And from our investigation to this case, you did nothing wrong. It was the boyfriend that you had who violated and wronged your child.
Yes.
And that's how the case was opened. You were
Yes.
thoroughly investigated by law enforcement, and you were found to have had no complicity or no involvement, engagement in the criminal act whatsoever, not even the knowledge of it, nor did you try to conceal it. And so when that was concluded, CPS still moved forward with the courts to ask a judge to take your child from you and place your child in permanent foster care and terminate your rights.
Yes.
What happened here?
Mm, at at the time, I was dating this young man. It was just one day we woke up one morning. I had to work, and I remember him asking me, to watch my daughter. And as I go back to it, she left. She was happy. She just was like any other child. She did. She looked at him like a father figure. I let him take her. When she came back, all I remember is she had marks on her, and I asked him what happened, and he was like, "Oh, she fell. I put some Neosporin, on her scarves, and next thing I know, like a couple of days later, I was in the process of putting my daughter in preschool, and that day it just all took place.
How did you find out what really happened to your child?
When they took her, they had took her to Texas Children's Hospital to get evaluated, and the doctor stated that it came back that the marks was intentionally burn marks on my daughter.
And so he burned your child as a form of punishment.
He burned her. I still don't know what he burned her with, but yeah, she came back with burn marks. Like he purposely burned her. Um, when the CPS lady was on the phone, I cried out and I begged him, can you please like tell me what happened to my child? I left my child with you, and he was basically like he didn't do it, and it was just a whole bunch of other things that was.
And so he was subsequently charged with a criminal crime, and he was given a criminal case, which processed its way through the courts, and he's now currently in prison for that crime, right?
It was not involving my daughter, but it was another crime.
But he was charged with a crime along with your daughter, and he's subsequently in prison for that now. But my concern here is you did your best to comply with everything CPS asked you to do. You had family members on both sides, the father's side and the mother's side, who were very genuinely concerned about the placement of the child and was advocating for the child to be placed with family.
Yes.
And this is a child that had two sets of families, mother's side and father's side, who were willing to take this child in and
Hmm.
give this child a home, even while this case moved its way through the courts.
Correct. They did all they can. They were willing to take my daughter, but when CPS went out to evaluate the home, they basically didn't approve it. So,
And these were clean homes, respectable homes.
mhm.
These were families who had no criminal history,
Mhm.
no CPS history. They
Mhm.
they passed every standard of qualification, and they had the willingness to do this, but somehow CPS found justification along with a court-appointed child advocate, and that's what I want to touch on. This court-appointed child advocate. They decided the child should not be placed with family, should go into foster care, right?
At the beginning of the when everything took place, they asked me to provide a couple of relatives that my daughter could go with. I gave them a couple of relatives. The first one was my sister. I gave them my sister. I've been having issues back and forth with them stating that they sent out information for her to fill out and she never received it. I gave them a couple of people on my mom's side, and I even told them I'm willing to let her go with her grandma on her dad's side, were her other siblings. According to CPS, everything that I did, it was not good enough. I did everything I could, and everything I did, it was not good enough.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to know that we've investigated this case and we've looked into many different areas of this case. This is what we have learned. Not only was CPS telling lies to the court about evaluating potential family members for placement of the child, the first priority of CPS is to have family placement of the child, not place the child in the system. Placing a child in the system is the last resort. She had qualified family members on both sides. Names were given from both sides of the families. And CPS would tell the court that they spoke with family members, evaluated their homes, had visits, and they were not being totally truthful. Some of these things that CPS said that they did in the case to properly vet these family members never ever took place. They lied to the court about that. What's even more shameful about this is the child advocate was advocating also. The child advocate is a lawyer appointed by the judge in the case to advocate for the best interest of the child. This child advocate did not even truly vet the family members on both sides, father's side or mother's side. And the child advocate advocated for the child to remain in foster care. We later learned that the father who was incarcerated, the biological father who was incarcerated, was never ever subpoenaed to come to court and testify about anything in this case. His rights were terminated without ever being given due process of appearing in court and speaking up and fighting for his own child. In the state of Texas, you have a right, even if you're a parent that's incarcerated, to attend any proceeding, legal proceeding and trial where your child is about to be placed into the system and your rights as a parent is going to be legally terminated. They legally terminated this father's rights and never brought him to the courtroom, legally terminated his rights and never even notified him of a court date, legally terminated his rights and took his child and placed the child in foster care. What they're not telling people is placement of a child in foster care is big business. It's a huge business. Listen to me good. There have been cases where CPS workers have been found to be complicit and doing things illegally, receiving illegal gifts from foster care parents to advocate for the child to remain in foster care. And so, because they have been taking monies and gifts under the table, CPS workers have been advocating against family placement and leaving the children in foster care because they're being paid by foster care parents. under the table. This stuff has come out across the country and even in Texas. What's even more shameful, some child advocates have done the same thing. Some of these quote unquote child advocates that's advocating for the best interest of the child is advocating for the best financial interest under the table for themselves, not the children that are in CPS custody. You did what you were asked to do. You went to the classes. You took multiple drug and hair follicle tests. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And did you pass every single drug and hair follicle test?
Yes, sir.
And yet they still advocated. And you were never charged with a crime. You were thoroughly investigated, found to have no involvement in the crime, and still took your child and terminated your rights when there were family members standing in line on both sides of the aisle, father and mother side, willing to take the child in, and they terminated your rights.
Yes.
Shameful. Absolutely shameful. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important that this level of corruption is exposed. Up under no circumstances can you ever terminate a father's rights and never even subpoena him to come to court. No way should a CPS worker be allowed to fabricate lies to a court and to a judge that they've done certain things to vet family placement that never ever took place. Up under no circumstances should a child be placed in foster care when there are viable family members who meet all of the standards that's willing to take that child in. These are not criminal family members. They're not CPS history family members. They're not drug family members. They passed all of those standards. But you still took that beautiful baby and put that child in foster care because it's big business. People are being paid under the table to keep these kids in foster care and not family placement. What has this done to you, young lady? How has this affected your life?
I wake up every day missing my. I wake up every day missing my daughter. I haven't seen her. The last day I seen her was the last day that my rights got terminated. I was able to get an hour visit with her. After that, I can't contact her. I can't see her. My mental health has fallen. I'm still pushing myself because I'm still not going to give up on my daughter. I'm still pushing myself as a mother because I have my son, and my son asks me every time, "Mom, where's my sister?" And I don't really know what to say because it's like I don't really have an answer. This has taken like this has taken a this is like the
This
most
is,
thing that I don't ever wish any mother to experience. It's a hard hurtful feeling. Like
and the reason why you want your face blacked out is because you still fear retaliation by those involved in the case while your case is on appeal. Your case is on appeal right now. It's being appealed in the courts. And I'm appealing to the judge in this case. Correct these errors. You have the power and the authority to correct and properly vet and investigate these errors. The least you could do, Your Honor, is recognize that your court failed to subpoena that father to come to court, and you terminated his rights without giving him due process. That's the least that can be done. I have nothing to say against the judge in this case because I felt you were misled by the facts, Your Honor. But we need you to clean this up and fix this and bring that child back to her biological family. Is there anything else you would like to say, young lady?
um, I would like to say to the child advocates and CPS, I would like to say that you guys are wrong. I did everything I was supposed to do for my daughter, and you still look beyond that and still decided to take my daughter away. This is my first CPS case. I don't have felonies. I'm not a bad mother. And then y'all have other moms out here that get second chances or are able to get their kids back, and they don't take their kids serious. I'm a mom that's not going to give up. I'm going to fight for my daughter, and I want my daughter to come back to me. I want her to come back to me and my son. She have family members that love her, that misses her, that wants her, and that's waking up we don't even know if she's being treated right, because some foster parents, they mistreat the kids, or they just want the kids for the money. I haven't seen my daughter in months, and this has affected me mentally and physically, has affected me. But I'm still going to trust in God and still stand on my toes and fight till the end. I miss my daughter Zariana, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for telling your story. Thank you so much for having the courage, even with the fear of retaliation, to speak out and advocate on behalf of your daughter. God bless you, young woman. And we will continue to follow this story. We will continue to be a part of it. And we will update the public on further updates with this case. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining. Please share this episode as you faithfully always do. Please like this episode as you faithfully always do. And let's make this story go nationwide as you've helped us make so many more do. Thank you.